No.
Today, we're doing toy photography.
Because of the current situation right now, a lot of creatives are struggling to keep, well, creating. You've heard it left and right, unless it's absolutely necessary to go out, stay inside, practice social distancing to keep yourself safe. But luckily, there are still some ways you can pick up your camera and make something really cool. In this video, we wanted to show you how you can take some small models, action figures, any toys you have laying around and create a really cool action scene. In the past, Isaac has made some really dope toy photography using actual fire. We're not gonna go that far, but Isaac does have some stormtroopers he's gonna put together to create a cool battle scene.
So I laid this out because I wanted to get a picture of what I'm gonna take. Right now, I'm gonna take out everything on the board, put the sugar as a foundation, and then start putting the stormtrooper and the branches and the barks again. And then after that, I'll put the sugar again on top of everything so it looks like it snowed. So I'm using a strainer to even out the snow around the board.
So these are the lights we're gonna be using to light this scene. These are from Godox. The awesome people from this company sent us these lights that are not even out yet to try and test them out. This is called the Godox R1. And the cool thing about these lights is when you turn them on, there are a bunch of different options with these lights. You can change their color temperature, they're bicolor, which is dope. So you can go from daylight to tungsten really quick. You push this button and now these lights are RGB. And you can go through the whole spectrum with these lights and get whatever color you want. And on top of that, you can even get different effects with this light. We're gonna use these to light up this setup right here. So here is the light setup Isaac is using for the shot. He's shooting on a black background to make it easier to cut out the stormtroopers in post. We've got one Godox light above the scene to act as the sun, and then one on the side to give some separation from the background. The red light here will give a realistic light cast on the stormtroopers since Isaac knows it's going to be shooting a laser in the scene. By the way guys, don't get discouraged if you don't have lights like the ones we're using. You can achieve the same effect by using desk lamps, flashlights, even the light on your phone. Just be creative.
So I took a picture of the stormtrooper alone without the light. And then I'm gonna do another picture with the red beam so that I can merge them in Photoshop. I'm doing this because I didn't want the red to overpower everything. So that way I can merge the image and kind of tone down the red if I have to.
Now that we have our photos, we're gonna jump into Photoshop and blend them together. Here are the three images we're gonna be stitching together. You don't have to have the third one with a blue glow, but we're gonna use it because why not? After importing the images into Photoshop, we're gonna do some basic color correction until we get to a spot that we like. In this case, Isaac added some warmth to the main image and made the blue glow in the third image a bit more teal. Now we're gonna bring all the shots into one document with the main shot being the first layer and the other two above it. We then added layer masks to the top two layers and filled them with black so that we could start painting in the parts that we want. By the way, guys, if you remember our watch tutorial, you never want anything to move if you plan on stitching images together. So make sure while you're shooting, nothing moves to make it easier for compositing. If you want to see that tutorial, it's gonna be right up here. So now that we have our layers masked out, we're gonna start painting in the red glow around our shooting stormtrooper. You can use the original image as a reference to see how the light is bending around the scene, but we're just gonna leave the parts we want. In this case, it'll be mainly near the edges. We're using a semi-soft brush to paint in the highlights, and afterwards we're softening it up to give it a little bit more fall off. Finally, we're gonna make the brush a little bigger and bring the opacity down to 20% to paint in some ambient light. Then we're gonna do the same thing with the blue light. Next, we're gonna duplicate the layers and flatten them into a single layer. We'll take our original 3 layers and put them in a group just to keep things cleaner. Next comes the tedious part, separating our scene from the background. Using the polygonal lasso tool, we're gonna cut around our stormtroopers, paying attention to every nook and cranny we can. We added a little feather of about 2 to our selection to soften up our edges, then created a layer mask to cut them out. Afterwards, we selected the space between their legs, stop it, and did the same thing. Now it's time to put our models into the scene. Isaac already had a scene on his computer to throw them in, but if you don't have one, there are tons of resources out there to get stock photos from. A good one is unsplash.com. It's got tons of free photos that you can use in your projects. We're not paid to say any of this, but we do use it a lot. So moving on, we're gonna put our snowy scene in. The background is more desaturated than the stormtroopers, so we toned down the saturation on our stormtroopers to match that layer. Next, we're gonna go into our foreground layer and tidy up our edges a little bit more. While you're doing this, you can look for any natural lines in the image to make your blending more organic. Once that's done, we're gonna start adding some elements to bring more life into the scene. Since these guys are in the middle of a battle, we're gonna add some lasers and muzzle flashes. A quick Google search will give you tons of resources to download free textures for projects like this. We're gonna drop our muzzle flash in and set it to screen, then we're gonna move it to the end of our stormtrooper's gun. We duplicated the layer and changed the opacity to get it to the power that we wanted. Now, we're gonna take our laser beam and drop it in as well, setting it to screen and positioning it just a little bit ahead of our muzzle flash. Next, we're gonna add some smoke to add more foreground to our composite. You can get some really cool smoke textures from textures.com that are free to use. Again, not paid, just saying. We want the smoke to look like it's coming from blasters and explosions, so don't overdo it, otherwise it's gonna look like they're fighting in a fog. So we'll drop in some smoke layers and set them to screen. The last texture we're gonna add to the scene is some snow. Since the stormtroopers have snow on top of them, it's obvious that it's currently snowing in the scene. So after another quick Google search, we found a snow texture to use and dropped it into our scene, lowering the opacity just a bit so that it's not overpowering everything. Then, just because we can, we added a couple more lasers to bring more chaos into the scene. Finally, to top it off, a color grade image on top of everything to set the mood. Isaac does have some grading actions already created to help make this process a little faster. If you're interested in those actions, comment below. Maybe we'll make them accessible to you guys. Otherwise, you can achieve the same result by dropping in a color lookup adjustment layer and setting it to fall colors or any grade you like. And that leaves us with our final image. And there you have it, guys. What really makes these photos look realistic is blending practical effects and lighting with visual effects. If this video has sparked any ideas in your head, we'd love to see what you come up with, so tag us on Instagram and share your work. Finally, if you like this video, be sure to leave a like and a comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more content. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.